Hello, happy Thursday. Yet again, we are back with another episode of Word on the Block. And I am so excited to share that this is our 14th one. Um, Wait a second. Except I think it's going to be confusing because, oh, there we go. Jump right in.
Come on, don't sleep now.
Hey,
Okay. Hey,
what's
can you hear me?
going on? How are you?
I'm great. Wait a
I have
second.
to. You say 1 second?
I have not been on this live in a long time now. It's pulling up. All right. Okay. Cool. Can you hear me okay?
I can, but let me tell everybody because I have to tell them what your response was when I slid in your DM. So, so first of all, Charles and I go back. We've actually never met in person. Isn't that something?
Yes, and please give a big shout out to my child. She's the first there.
Oh, how adorable. Listen, we love it when your kids pull up and show up for you. So I think we were connected with Black Travel Expo.
We are both winners. No, 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 no. We
We
go
were connected
way
with
back.
Focus Right.
That's
Focus,
right.
Focus Right. Yes, yay. What's up? Yes, he's ready. He's ready to go live and shine and tell the world his story. But listen, y'all, when I slid in his DM to say, hey, Charles, I need you to come on Word on the Block, he's going to say, what took you so long?
Yes. Yeah.
And I love it. I love it because we've done so many things on, like consecutively side by side. You went first, I went after, I went first, you went after. But that's just like the love of like being a Black travel tech founder. But before we jump in, I would love for you to give your own introduction and tell the people where you're tuning in from, what you up to, and who you are.
Yes, every story has a beginning. Mine, it's been what, 5 years in the making, or
Okay.
maybe so. Happening as we speak. I'm tuning in from Vancouver, building from the library. Google started in the garage. I am proud in the library. Hopefully, one day when we get where we are thinking we will be, we will donate to the library. This is in Vancouver Public Library, a beautiful building to visit.
Okay.
And I am building Tourifique, formerly known as Aniheza, which is positioned as the world's first Afrocentric travel platform primarily. I mean, we're going to have all the tours and the activities, but we're going to have a category that focuses on the Afrocentric to give the space on um, sort of Black-focused history and culture.
Okay.
And so my focus is to make it affordable for the Gen Zs and millennials to discover the world through tours and activities, such as my child here. Hello.
I know that is so
um,
amazing.
and so, yeah, I mean, we can kind of talk more, but we need to start building things that are hard but are needed. I'm based in Canada, and so as a travel tech founder, building Tourifique for the last 5 years, sort of how you piece everything together, anything, how you need to do the marketing and the TikTok videos, which I do now, how you need to pitch, and especially how startups are a tool to
Hmm.
build generational wealth for the communities and so on and so forth. So,
Yes. This is exciting because you said so many things that I want to dive into. Um, but again, we met, well, we, connected from Focus Right or Focus Wire, one of the two. They're both like the same company. One is the publication company and one is like the conference arm. But we've done several things. I've been on his podcast. I've been, on his platforms. He shared his platform with me. But one of the reasons why it was so important for us to have this chat, and I'm sorry it took me so long. One of the reasons why, and we're on our 14th. I cannot believe I've been doing this for 14 weeks consecutively. Woo! Now, I know, right? Like consistency is the name of the game. It's like, okay, when you could do this consistently, you could do a lot of things consistently. So I wanted to jump in. We are going to get to all of the awesome things that you're doing with, and I pronounce it terrific. Is that kind of the, yes. Okay. I just want
Yeah,
to make sure I'm saying it correctly.
like a tourifique. Yeah, so
Terrific, but it's also
yeah,
like, oh, that's terrific. That's
yeah,
terrific.
yeah.
I can totally see it. So before we jump into that, what is your background? Like, how long have you been a startup founder? Like, where did what is your career history?
Yes. Really, I became an entrepreneur again
Okay.
because it wasn't really my first time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I launched in 2020, and the pandemic happened.
Okay.
To give you a sort of more of the context, because it's very, very important. Anyone who has read any of my content, as you have on LinkedIn, you name it, I always talk about my father. He's the center of, my mom too, but my father, because my mom died prior. So I spend more of my sort of older years with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the one that I remember
Mm-hmm.
more. Rest in peace.
So that's
And
all.
so he was an entrepreneur. He was an accountant. So I
Okay.
grew up seeing how he really enjoyed what he was doing, especially the freedom I noticed, because he could work at night, wake up finish his work in the morning and go submit his work, and he's back at home, and voila, and then maybe he goes back to take his nap, or he gets to spend time with us. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
cool. That's nice.
Yes.
I would like to do this too. I'd like to have this type of job.
Absolutely.
And so
Leisure
because I
living.
think, yes, because who we are today is definitely the foundation we receive from our parents,
Mm-hmm.
whether they speak or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so travel was introduced to me way, way earlier on in my life. I mean, I wasn't born in the country where my parents are from. My parents are from Rwanda, and I was born in the RC. And so, really, I think the first time I traveled on the plane as a baby was maybe in the early 80s, right? I don't
Wow.
remember because we went to travel from Kinshasa to Kigali.
Okay.
And so, and then also the environment I was in. Most people don't know this, but Kinshasa, back in the sort of 80s, going to kindergarten, it was a very metropolitan city,
Okay.
right? We can talk about this. I talk about Japan. Japan was introduced to me through a show that I used to follow as a kid that I sort of loved, right?
Wow.
This we watch. So content creation has always been in my life. Not only we watched a lot of TVs growing up, but
Mm-hmm.
my father liked to film everything we did, like
Wow.
everything we did. So
Wow.
people always see me with a camera. I'm like, I was born smiling in front of a camera. It is, that's how I was,
I love
right?
it.
And so growing up, always travel in the corner. Entrepreneurship came in a form of when my father purchased his second property. Um, he happened to have an empty. Well, he liked to build things, and
Mm-hmm.
so he happened to have just an empty space in one of the building, right? And so I made the proposal. I mean, I was like, well, we love movies. I think I have an idea, right? That was in Rwanda. They didn't have like cinemas like here, just in the neighborhood. What if we put one of the TVs in one of the space? And I'm going to also, so it's also an opportunity for me to share with the kids who didn't have
Yes.
TV. I always like to help people, right? Like,
Yes.
then my friends and everyone, and they can come and watch movies,
Wow.
and they can pay me, right?
I know, right? A
And
little
there's like,
hustler.
you know, and it's like, are you going to manage it? Because I was like 11. He's like, yeah. You know, he had really taught me well and so on. Okay, cool. And it's like, while you are at it, let's also have a convenience store, which I'm going to allow you to manage.
Wow. That's
Right?
awesome.
There you go. So, you know, entrepreneurship really the first time, that's when it was really managing those things that sort of I had. So it's always been in my blood. But really, so the travel, when I came to Canada, I spent 20 years thinking, reflecting. I wanted to build something, but I didn't know quite yet because I wanted to do something that is going to be a legacy business, right? Not just a business to pay bills, right? I mean, that is nice, but I wanted to build something that I guess that is going to be there even when I am gone. But as you know, and we can talk about this, when you start building this thing in travel, then you realize that our voices are not quite there to the level, like when you go to Focus Wire, you went, I went, right? Most people have never heard of Focus Wire, but this is an industry leading travel where they make decisions, share information on travel and hotels, you name it. But
Yeah.
we are not,
Yeah.
we're not represented. And
Yes.
that is the problem.
And it's crazy because we make up, like Black and Hispanic make up $313 billion of travel share.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's okay. So it's been in your blood. Travel was always around you. Entrepreneurship was definitely, your father trusted you very early to just say, you know what, you're going to do it. And you were just out here managing companies at the age of 11 and 12 years old while
Yeah.
hanging out with your friends. How about that part of it? That is literally, you were Bleisure living before Bleisure even had a word.
Yes. Yes. It was. But it was also a way, I mean, yeah. My father was a very practical and he was a very, I should say, ahead of his time. Many people have said now me that he was a genius. And he is the person I admire the most because just the more of the context is that where I come from, the continent of Africa, back then and even now, there is a lot of brain drain. As soon as there is a potential someone from the continent who is bright, they get pitched out of the continent. They go work abroad, right?
Mm.
Right.
Is this something
So,
that they choose to do and now they just go for other opportunities, or
I mean, I think there's that choice, yes, for sort of to seek a better life. In Nigeria, they have a term for it now. They call it tujapa.
to Japa?
Yes, japa. I'm
Japa,
out of
Japa.
here. Yes. In fact,
Oh,
one of the biggest content creator in Africa just left, and so he moved to Spain. Tayo Aina, he's really good. He's in travel. He was in Nigeria. He's from Nigeria. He grew. He has, I think, 1 million followers now on YouTube. Anyway, he's like one of the biggest travel content creator. Please follow him. He just left. He wanted to move to Spain, and he made a video as to why he had to leave. And so, back to my father, is that he was, I mean, especially then, he was the ideal candidate for a job in Europe, right? Yeah, he graduated first of his class. He was the most sought after sort of an accountant on the continent of Africa. He worked for the World Bank
wow.
and you name it, but he never left. He lived, worked, succeeded, and died on the continent of Africa. He never left. Unfortunately, I will never know why. But I think from the life we had and the way he just loved being on the continent. I mean, in Rwanda where we were, but also in the RC, right?
Wow.
So he had this quiet inherent pride of being someone of African descent. But yes, he also loved the Western life. He really loved it, right? My father, he's the type of a guy who only ate imported cheese and you name it. And, and he loved computers. I don't know how, back then, right? In the 80s, not a lot of people had computers, but we had computers in my house in Africa.
Wow.
Go figure.
Wow. So you come from this level of royalty and success and abundant mindset.
Let's say, from what everyone else have said, yeah, it does feel like that. But for me, my father was very humble. But he really loved to travel, right? He took us vacation, and he taught us how to behave when we go in a luxury place. The etiquette is the one who taught me. You hold your fork like this. What are you doing? Right? You have to eat like he was the one. He was like, he taught us all those things, right? Back then I was like, what is he doing, right? But if he didn't sit right, he would be like, come on. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so it sounds like because it was something that you naturally grew up with and it was rooted in you, you are now building something that Gen Z and millennials can take pride in terms of seeing the world and seeing themselves in this world, and more specifically, Blacks, right?
Yes, I mean, I say so because,
sorry,
my entire life, it was pretty much through traveling, through the content around us. It was traveling one way or another. Traveling does not mean you have to necessarily just go to a place that's nice or do an international travel, right? For example, when we were in Kinshasa, we used to go to one of Lafikine, which was an amusement park. Well, they had an amusement park. It's where I saw my first Santa. So I knew more about the European life more than some Europeans, I think. But that's just the beauty, right? Being surrounded by all this Western lifestyle allowed me to have a certain mind. When you come, like, we should not fear to be part of things that are not necessarily ours. It's just how we have to navigate through it and then learn. So just as much as the Western has blessed me with their culture, I think I have to also bless them with
return the favor. Yes, return the favor. Okay, and so this is how Tourifique was birthed, essentially, because you want to share your love, pay homage to all the things that your father gave you to the younger community.
Yes, I mean, and sort of beyond, because our world is not as big as, let's say, And here's the thing: when I started the journey, I was thinking of the continent of Africa, and I am, because people tend to think of the continent of Africa, especially North America, that is just one happy country. Some say continent. I'm not saying just Africa. So this is key. There's 54, 55 countries, depending on where you look. The African Union says 55, the UN says 54. That's the difference. And so people tend to think, okay, I go to the continent of Africa, it's safari. Safari is only, 5 countries, really, primarily. But there's other countries to see.
50 plus other ones.
The food, there's so many things to see. And so that's where the journey started. However, as I built this, like Mark Zuckerberg once said, an idea does not come fully formed. And I realized that actually, when you look at the history of us, right, those who remain, I mean, the ancestors who unfortunately were taken away from the continent and went everywhere. It's not just in North America, South America. There's also in Asia. There's everywhere. Right? So how do we tell the story of what have now named the Afrocentric, and that term was first used in Brazil. Afrotourism, we found it in Brazil, because
Mm-hmm.
people tend to forget this. We always hear about Black Americans traveling to Ghana to learn about the unfortunate history of our forefathers and foremothers. But people in the continent of Africa should also make an effort to come to America, not just go to New York. It's nice, but they also have to go see anything that touches where the ancestors went. There have to be that movement, and we don't see it. It's only one way. It's
And
primarily one way.
you know what? That is so amazing that you say that, because I do believe that Americans, Black Americans, have carried the weight of the stigma of the Black culture, and then also have been looked at a certain way from other non-Black Americans, but those non-Black Americans want to come over to America to access the things. And so you're right. I don't think it's enough respect. In my own words, I'm not saying you said this, but I'm saying this. I don't believe that there's enough respect put on the Black American like name or culture or understanding or like swag or whatever you want to call it, because it's easy to like want to be a part of it, but it's not easy to say that I'm going to give you respect because you carried it for such a long time, and you make it look easy even though it's rough out here for you.
Yes, yeah, it is. It is. And so when we build a travel platform like I am, and then you realize that a big component of the vision I have, you have to be an advocate. You have to be that voice. So it goes beyond. I mean, technology is quite a powerful tool. We use we we always think about software, a software engineer doing their codes, and that's nice and fancy. Um, we think about using AI, artificial AI, and there's an obsession of ChatGPT. But people forget is that without content, there will not be ChatGPT. I mean, where's the content going to come from?
In the without culture, content is not a thing either. So you're right. Like the culture is where it starts, because the culture is what you want to create content about. And then the content is what you want to build a lifestyle around and sell access to. So you're right.
Yes,
Mm.
because even ChatGPT, we have to shape the content that it's found within it. These things go way deeper, but just, you sort of realize it's like, well, even those codes, the way they are built, right? We have to tell our stories. We
We
have to be
must.
part of the builders, not just
We
people
must.
who receive and then buy things. And people should know
Yes.
that it it is it should be just like other things are normal. It should be, and I make it a point to tell my story, not necessarily to brag, because I know ever since I arrived in America, in North America, in Canada, you are hit with all this negative narrative
Mm-hmm.
about people from the continent of
Mm-hmm.
Africa. I mean, I'm from Rwanda, born in DRC, and I know now we have like this tense situation. That being said, and sometimes those walls are it's like people have already made an opinion about you.
Mm-hmm.
When we go people,
They
when
didn't even
we
heard
go
your
people,
voice. They don't even know nothing about your heart and
yeah,
who you are as a person. They just made an opinion. Yes.
yeah, and before you even say it's like there's always, oh no. But as Michael Jackson once said, have you seen my childhood?
And that is so real. And that was one of the things that you and I talked about when I came on your platform, when you shared your platform with me, like what was it like growing up in America, and then like take it even further, inner city of Chicago, right? So I do agree that if we don't tell our stories, one, that means that we're automatically either allowing ourselves to be erased or allowing someone else to tell it for us. And they're not going to represent our voices, our thoughts, our culture, our struggles, our ups, our downs. So I do agree that we must tell our stories, but I believe that there's a barrier there as it relates to what you and I are doing, because oftentimes our stories are not told because they're not represented. They're not readily accessible. And so what type of story do I suppose to tell if I don't see me on the mainstream travel platform? What type of story do I suppose to tell when all I hear about is travel, but I don't see someone that talks like me, that look like me, that walk like me, that came from where I came from? And so that's why, while what we are doing, in the sense of building a travel company, yes, it's a beautiful thing, it's a luxury thing, it's a leisurely thing, but you're correct. We have a weight to carry because we are representing what has been there the whole time, but it's not being loud or mainstream.
Of course, I mean, I live in Vancouver. If I say, have you heard of Joe Fortis? Do you know who he is?
I do not.
Fortis. There you go. He was a Black Caribbean who was an instrumental part of building Vancouver and coming up with at the beach in our cold water.
Wow.
Joe Fortes, you know, he was the one who, what do you call those people who look after people in the water? I was forget. They're ready to jump in
Lifeguard, a
anytime.
lifeguard.
Yes, right. But it's like his story. I mean, when you come to Vancouver, he was here, right? Just like Jimi Hendrix lived there for a little bit. But through travel, we have to amplify his part of Vancouver, Canada. Go figure. Where, and so then someone like me who's building a tour and activities, you realize then I'm going to be the champion to say, look, Vancouver, it's not just Whistler. If there is a story of us, Afrocentric, then it deserves to be known and told, amplified. We have to build events and activities around it. And it should not be, oh, that thing. It should be that thing.
Right, no, like it's
like, oh, it's there. No. We want it to be the main thing, right? So then also us, we have to market it, because a lot of time, what I've seen the last 5 years, the people who are more reluctant to even sample our sort of product, at least for me in North America, it's the global African diaspora, even traveling to the continent. And then we all say, well, I talked to a lot of the tour companies in Africa, and you realize that in terms of what they think about a traveler, it's usually Western European white, because they don't see as.
it's
In fact,
it's just not the voice is not amplified.
Right. And yesterday I had a conversation. I mean, I cannot get into much with someone, and we were having a conversation about the perception of the traveler going to the continent when they are dealing with someone local. I don't know why, but they always feel like they are being overpriced when someone local. You know, we should respect if we know that that person has good quality, right? We should empower. You should not say, hey, you know, I mean, like we tend to cheapen our things, and it has happened to me as well. Like, why you know, and if it was be reversed, I know we will pay for it. I mean, we're talking about the same people, because I told that the partner is like, well, we have a reputation, and I know this, that if you go talk to people who own bars in Vancouver, I gotta be specific. People don't say I'm just imagining things. They will tell you each time they see Black people coming in, they're happy because they buy top shelf liquors, right? We spend thousands of dollars on, you name it, all these consumable things. I mean, to each their own. Champagne, you name it. I mean, people are always like making rain. Who came up with that? But then when it came to travel, tours, and activity, and oh, I cannot afford it. It's expensive. Charles.
Listen,
That's what we
you
have to deal
don't
with.
even understand how you just because I woke up this morning with something on my spirit, like you have to tell this story. But I didn't start doing the research on like what to tell. I just felt the like you have to tell the story now that you're in New York. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's see what we see. But the fact that you're almost like pointing me to that aha moment that I had this morning, so much so that I had to grab a piece of paper and a pencil to start taking notes because you're correct. You're absolutely correct. One of the things, so block, home exchange. Home exchange was in the Green Book the Green Book, right? Like there were tourist homes in the Green Book that Black people had a home, and they would say before you enter into a sundown town and potentially lose your life, because I care about you, you can knock on my door and you can stay in my house for the night, and then you can pass in the morning. You could just continue your travels. Like this was a thing during the Jim Crow era that was within us. Somehow now it's like Black and brown people don't even know what home exchange is. And I'm okay with that because I understand that that's my responsibility. That is my calling to make it a thing. But you are literally echoing everything that I've been feeling. Like we are building something, to your point, like a legacy. We are building something beyond just a good time in a flashy picture. We are responsible for telling stories, showing that we are represented in every aspect of travel, not just the service part of the travel experience. And we've been the movers, the shifters, the change agents, the thought leaders, all those things. And so I'm so happy to hear that you like helped re-empower that. So tell us, like, talk more about your actual platform. Tell us what type of services you offer, what type of experiences. Where are you? Where are you in the process, right? Because the startup journey is not easy, one, and then it's not easy when you are working with a shoestring budget like I am. And so you have to be extra creative. You have to be extra intentional. Tell us where you are in your journey and what is that looking like and shaping out to be.
Yes. Wow. It's always interesting how people see the results, but they don't see the
No, the
pain
process.
process of it. We just look at, oh, it looks so fancy. So
Yes,
proud me to
exactly.
say that we just partnered with BSC, and they are based in New York actually. So we can now sell a Brooklyn Nets ticket.
What?
There you go.
Okay, come
New
on.
York, I love New York. I mean, New York has been amazing. The New York Tourism Board, they've been amazing. Um, we have a partnership with them as well. So, I mean, who
That's
doesn't love New York?
exciting.
And so, yes, it is. It is. It is. And so now it's really bringing the supplier on the platform. And that's what I am focusing on. And we signed an agreement with one of the school here as well as one of their perk members, right? So my former school, very supportive also. So, this is like over 75,000 members.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a pretty hectic time.
I'm so happy you made
And
time to visit us on Word on the Block. Even after you gave me all of that, it's about time. It took too long. I'm so happy you made time for us on this Thursday
um,
evening, considering all that you have going on.
yes. So yeah, the platform is live. There's also a bit of history there, which we will share in due time. Uh, back to being a solo founder.
Okay.
again. And so, yeah, so now it's really bringing the quality suppliers. We have over 10. There's one supplier based in Halifax who does sustainable tours. It's very interesting.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
those are the type of product that I want to introduce as well to the community. It doesn't have to be Afrocentric, but it's
Yeah.
amazing. He does anything from like harbor cruises and bikes. He's based in PEI as well. It's sort of another province, and we have to go visit those places.
Yes, you must.
I recently spoke at the Pro Colombia Roadshow. They invited me to go speak on technology and content creation, and so Colombia is another destination that I feel we should visit for the right reason,
Absolutely.
not just for the other, for the culture, for the food, and especially
supporting the culture.
Yes,
not just extracting from.
Yes, yeah, because they have maintained the Afrocentric, like in Palenque, and I mean they have maintained the culture. Yeah, so it is a very exciting time. After 5 years, you sort of realize that, as you know, sometimes you wake up and you go like, whoa, wait a second, what am I doing again? Why am I doing this?
Right, you see, we were trying to connect the dots, and I agree with you, like, because it's something that we have a strong why to, and because we have a mission behind it, the average person would have given up a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I keep referencing the fact that by the time people discover me specifically, but it's probably your story as well, by the time they quote unquote discover us, it's going to seem like we were an overnight success. But the night just lasted for 12 years. It was just a 12-year overnight success. And, the people that stay consistent, because you're all up and down my LinkedIn timeline. I cannot go on LinkedIn without having something from you come across my timeline, which is an awesome thing. I'm not complaining at all. I'm really saying congratulations. That's awesome. By the way, and so it's so exciting to see and hear about the things that you're bringing to life. But how are you, right? Like, how is it understanding that you're carrying something so very valuable and so very important, because it's like history and legacy, but also something that most people don't even look past the surface on? As a solo entrepreneur, how are you doing? Like, how is that? Like, how do you navigate that part of the journey?
Wow, that's a very good question. It's also a very loaded question. I mean, how am I? I mean, as a human being, things do take a toll on you. Or to say that it doesn't, that will be lying, especially all the sacrifices. I mean, I have a family, and if my child is still here, just that, that I do appreciate that they are still with me. Like really with me, and each doing their own role to go to sort of have a normalcy in what we do in our lives, knowing that maybe they don't see me as much, my kids, and so on and so forth. I mean, the sacrifices you make, to people don't kind of realize, right, that the family, they are the one who are going to endure the most. We used to take vacations to Japan almost every 2 years, but I have not been to Japan for many years. People don't realize how for me, that's one of the biggest sacrifices, because I love Japan and I've been going there for the last 20 years. And so, however, it's no longer about you at some point. It's more than you. I always look at my other hero is Mandela. I didn't speak English until I was 19, right? Like fluently, because in Rwanda we spoke French up until when I left in 1994. So I learned, now in Rwanda they do speak, that's pretty much the language. But for us who grew up there up until 1994, the language was French. In Rwanda, of course. Even though my Kinyarwanda was really bad because I was not born in Rwanda. That being said, Mandela, The Long Walk to Freedom. I should read that book, because
Oh, okay. That's
Like
the long walk to
27 years.
freedom.
Yes, a long walk to freedom, right? So you need strength, the mental strength you need to have, right? It's almost like, and maybe for me it's not as harder because my parents died when I was young, and then I survived things. So I know how to endure the toughest of the tough things. It's never nice, but what I want to say is, so for me, how I manage this is, well, one, you have the vision. You have your vision is clear. You know, remember your why. That's true, but it's almost like there's the you, normal you, when you're an entrepreneur, is gone a long time ago. That person, the one that will, react a certain way or feel sad, you
Yes.
understand? You have to let that person go. The
Yes.
one that you become is a different story.
It's a different story.
Right?
The risks that you take, the decisions that you have to make. The and at some point it was even like the persona that you had to become or be comfortable to even walk in, right? Like it's a journey. It's not something, it's not for the weak at all. I tell people that all the time. Do not start a business because your friend over there started a business and you think you're finna just start. Because when life start punching you in your face, because it will, and
Yes,
it's gonna punch you multiple times, you're gonna have to decide, are you gonna fight back and turn into a boxer, or are you gonna sit in the corner and like say somebody took your lunch?
absolutely. I'm glad you asked how are you, because I think a few days ago, because you are one of those entrepreneurs that I definitely admire, because you forgot, because I reached out to you because I read, we both won the Philip C. Morris, who was very known a travel advisor. We got there. High five. So you got there, I got inspired as well. All right.
Hmm.
Right. Do you see? And that's how, right? Those are our success. People have
That's
to remember
literally
we
how
have
it
opened,
works.
right? We have opened the doors. Everyone, you are welcome.
Yes, literally, that's what it is. But that's why we have to
Um,
amplify our voices. One, that's why we have to tell our stories. You have put me in rooms. I thought about this the other day, and I'm like, it's so interesting that like probably 50% of my network I have either not met in actual person or we only talk like once or twice a year. But when I tell you that you have opened up more doors for me, they say, "Oh yeah, Charles recommended you." Charles said, and I'm just like, this is why this is what support looks like. We have to open up the door for each other because if we do not, are we really serving the mission that we're saying is such the problem, which is the lack of representation of our stories in tourism, the lack of um, importance that's placed on the role in which we played in tourism. So this is like, it has to be rooted in us first.
yeah,
Mm.
I mean, you have to, and we had that conversation as well. Because one thing that I truly regret for 25 years now living in Canada is that you wake up and you realize, hmm, I know nothing about the Black history here. I don't even have uh, any proximity to it. Yet
Wow.
I am sort of exposed to the other non-Black history here. Why is that? That's a
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to anyone listening, I know it's using Afrobeat as an example that everyone seems to enjoy and dance to. It's a beautiful music, but didn't start today. I was listening to Afrobeat when I got here. Fela Kuti, Femi Kuti, when I got in the 90s. That's when I started listening to that new music. It took over 20 years. And now it's a culture that everybody enjoy and they listen to, all right? But let's not make that a trend. It's a it's a beautiful, the culture where we come from deserves to be discovered. However, the way it has to be done, it should not be like, oh, it's like a bucket list. Oh, I'm gonna go do this. But not just on the continent of Africa. It's like, uh, if you are in America, not everybody can afford to go to Ghana. It is expensive, right? It is expensive. But you can go to Halifax and learn about Africaville, ancestors who fled, who came to Canada. The underground went all the way to Ontario. That's fine. So you don't have to go to, and
But listen,
that's okay.
do you have content about that? Because do you have content telling us this? Like, this is something that, because you know the fact of, okay, fine, you can't make it to Ghana, but these are other experiences in the Afro-Caribbean or Afro tourism that you can experience without breaking the bank. Have you shared that part of the story?
Shared in form of content, or I have done some TikTok. One of the TikTok that has over 2 million views is me educating people about cities who are Afro descendants in India. They behave, and that content, after that, people started to reshare on their own social media, but it started on Tourifique, and now I see it on all other Instagram, right? And I'm like, yeah, they look like me, but they are Indians, but they are the descendants of Afro cities,
Wow.
right? It's a beautiful community, and there you go. And those are our brothers and sisters that anyone, not just us, should go and say hello in the right way, but not like a zoo. And that's another video I did, telling people, look, when you come to Africa, the white people don't come and start feeding us. We are not in the zoo here, because I will not do the same thing. I have to say that. And I said, I told you, right? Same idea. The whole, so yeah, I do. The whole mentality of, when you land on the coast, you start hugging over babies. Come on. I don't do that. Here, they're going to put me in, so they respect. But it's up to us. It's not to point fingers, it's really educating people.
Educating,
But,
education,
and then,
education.
and making it, not actually, building it in a way that there's education and there's also an understanding that those are people it's respect and value, just like when you come to Canada. But then you realize that I am chewing on more than I have I bargained for. I just want to give
Man,
a
it should,
platform.
because
I want them to
the
build.
deeper you dig, the more you find out, and the bigger it's like, wait, I need more people. I need my gang over here to help me pull this one, because this is a big fish that we're catching here.
Yes, yes. And unfortunately, yeah, I mean, we can talk about this on another day, but yeah, so we do that, but we do that because travel and travel tech, the technology piece allows us to do more without moving from where we are. So someone was asking me the other day, he's like, you always talk about Colombia. Have you been to Colombia? And I say, I don't have to go to Colombia, right? I just have to educate myself about it enough. Just
Yes,
like when you sort of read a book, I have to be immersed into it, which
yes.
I do. I'm always looking at people in Colombia. I'm always looking at the content. You have no idea how much content. People ask me, when do you sleep? Like, we will sleep one day, right? But I am really immersed in terms of following and knowing what's going on in those countries that I am interested in, and talking to the people and the culture as an outsider. So,
Yes.
and sometimes I joke, it's like, you have to think like those people who sell Zaza, they don't like consume it, but they actually, Zaza,
Or
I don't
like
know.
when you're tasting wine, like you taste it, but you like spit it out, so that way you don't overly get drunk off of it, you know? Like
Yes,
during the wine
yes.
tasting, like you taste it just to understand the flavor of it, but you don't over consume it. So, okay, we're gonna get ready to wrap, but
Mhm.
what is it? I think I heard it, but I would love to hear you say it. What is it that, because you understand that you're building a legacy, because you understand that you're building um, a legacy with your brand, your technology, your content, what is it that you want to be known for? What does Charles want to be known for?
Remembered for, known for. Hmm. I would like to be remembered as the godfather of Afrotourism.
I mean, I feel like you need to just change your names on platforms and start calling yourself that now, because you know what? It is what it is. It is what you say it is. And you know, since you said it is, you need to just go ahead and put that on everything that you sign off on. And
Yeah.
now when you go to talk on stages, you need to be known as that. And you know, then guess what? It'll just stick, because it's impressive. Like when you just said that, I'm like, mm.
Yes. I mean, it's and sometimes people look on my platform and they ask me, they look and they're like, wow, wait a second, we don't see this or that or something very black. I'm like, don't think that way. I am. It's imbibed.
Right.
It's coming from here,
It's who I
right?
am. It's
It's
just how I
right.
think. It's just what
You
it
know,
is. It's
do
and
you
we're not a monologue. Like we don't look just one way, one time, one sound, one
right?
like no, we are multifaceted, multi-layered.
Yes. So that's what it's like. It doesn't have to be the way you think, at least in my view, and um, because the person who is building it, just because it's already Afrocentric, like my touch to it, my flavor to it, my my sauce to it,
Agreed.
it's just that.
Agreed. That's what
It's
makes
just
it
that.
that, because I
Yeah.
said it's that. That's what
Um,
makes it that, because I said so. So
and
you're officially the godfather of Afro tourism
I
because you
try.
said so. Afro tourism?
Afrotourism, not because I just say so, but just because I have a tangible library of work that shows that, well, eventually that's gonna be something that I would have known, I will be known in the history to have contributed to, in one way or another.
That is that is awesome. That is, and you know, when I asked you that question, I asked myself, like, what do you want to be known for? And because I don't have the answer, I'm going to now cook it up for myself. But I do agree, we're building legacy companies. This is not, I understand that home exchange is not just something that everybody knows about today. And it's not something that I necessarily even want to say, oh, we're going viral over, because there is a level of trust, there is a level of respect, there's a level of community, there's a level of circulation, and that can't be done to the masses. That has to be done built into the culture, and then we can bring it out. Right. But I'm going deep in and then bringing it out, and that's legacy. I'm committed to this thing, and I want other home exchange marketplaces to come up. I don't want to be the only one
Yes,
doing it, because it is the future of how people should be thinking about traveling. Especially, you said something earlier, like we cannot just continue to be the consumer, because if we're being the consumer, that means that we're buying from somebody else who's telling the story. And so we are going to have to, at some point, get behind the camera and get behind, you know, and tell the story, because now it's going to come from our roots and our legacy and all of those things. Did I lose you? I think it's searching for you. I did. He dropped, guys. He was at the library in Vancouver. Let's see if we can get him back. But we were going to wrap anyway, but let's just see what we have going on. Let's see if he joins again. Otherwise, this conversation has been so enlightening. It's been so amazing, because the more and more I do the work that I'm called to do as a Black tech founder, I'm so much more than just a Black tech founder, but we're specifically talking about that now. The more I dig into the idea of building something something that represents us, the more I am faced with the reality of how far we do not exist, how far we have not been in the story, right? And so, uh, let's see if we can invite him back. And so this conversation has been extremely insightful, because we have to
Hey, we
continue.
have a technical issue there.
Yes,
You froze, right? Yeah.
no worries. Look, I told everybody that you're in Vancouver, you're at the library, things happen. Technology, we can't live with it and we can't live without it. But we were getting ready to wrap anyway. So do you have
Mhm.
any final words to tell us? Where can everybody find you at? Where should they come looking for you at?
Absolutely. Our platform is terrific.sienna.com. There's a story about that. So many legendary stories we will share one day once we are featured in those interesting places. But yeah, terrific.ca, and um, myself, I am on LinkedIn, as you know. Shima Charles. I tell stories. We are on TikTok. We should do this live on TikTok. Actually, next time I am going to invite you to come and do it on TikTok. It's sort of a whole, sort of a different feel over there, and encouraging everyone to watch into
Amazing
this,
conversation.
to support what we are building, not just with prayers and words, but also
Absolutely.
right.
Agreed.
Buy. And that's, people have to understand. You can tell me keep going, great, but those won't necessarily
I can't
allow
take
the
that to the
business to
bank.
survive.
Right. I can't
And
take
that is
that to the
why,
bank.
yes, and also well done. I do follow. I do admire the strength and the positivity you always bring to the platform. I see what you are doing as well. I mean, maybe my little cave library here, but I follow. Definitely inspiring. You see, like my child. See, she said, "Amazing
Amazing
combo."
conversation.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. Thank you.
Oh my
Love you.
goodness. That's so
Um,
amazing.
inspiring the next generation. This is it's just doesn't matter where our journey will. I don't want to say end, but I'm not where our journey will take us. It's the continuum. It's how it's going to inspire and shape the thinking
Absolutely.
of my kids and everyone else. That's how I will measure my success.
Absolutely.
Right? And thank you for having me. And one day we will say that they may have done it in their garage. We did it in the library. And don't be
And I'm
afraid.
in
Like
Brooklyn.
people are, it, watch level get started. Like I am at the library because actually, if you need to know, my computer stopped working about 6 months ago, but I did not stop working. So I'm using a public library.
You
Okay,
making
I'm not ashamed
it
of it.
happen. You're
Right?
making it
I
happen.
am a bootstrap, but other young people be like, oh, I cannot do this. I don't have this. You have to be resourceful in a good way.
Oh,
You
oh,
don't have to go steal or think of this nonsense. Just there's a public, go and build. That's what I'm
keep
doing.
building. Keep
Keep
building.
building, and we live in countries where we have resources that can be used to build. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to. Same idea. Even getting tours and activity. You don't have to go to Rome, or you go to a tour. There's many free tours, by the way. Every city have actually free tours.
Mm-hmm.
What's stopping you?
Mhm. That's so real. That is so real. I say all the time, it's not that we lack the resources. Most of the time we lack the resourcefulness of the resources that we have. That's literally what it is. You're right. And we, as bootstrap entrepreneurs, you bet to figure it out. Otherwise, you will be moved out of the way for somebody else who's going to figure it out.
Absolutely. Yes.
So thank you so very much. This was such an amazing conversation. I always enjoy our time together to chop it up and be obsessed over the things that we love. I agree. I wake up, go to sleep to this. It's what I understand I'm called to do. And I love talking to other people who are equally obsessed with their mission and what they have going on. I took some notes from our conversation because you sparked some other things. And so for me, this was a successful conversation. I appreciate you so very much. And please invite me over to TikTok because I'm like there, but I'm not like I still need some introductions. So go ahead and put me in the game, and I'm happy to pull up. You just let me know when, and we're going to keep winning. That's the only choice. We've come too far now to turn around.
Yes, anytime. Yeah, please. And I'm going to have a LinkedIn Live with a travel about travel with someone in the UK, I think on the 24th. So please join. We have to be there as well. The audience was really engaged. I was impressed because it was 5 a.m. when I was on that LinkedIn
Oh,
podcast.
wow.
And then the person invited me, and that is essentially the ideas, right? And yeah, so on the 24th, I'll share the details. But yeah, on TikTok anytime, and so keep us sort of a building, and you may see me soon. I know there's Black Travel Summit. People should sort of in Atlanta. I went to the one 2 years ago. I introduced you to Maurice, and I saw
Yeah.
you met my good friend in New York, Jelani as well. He's amazing.
Oh my goodness, yes.
One of the
These are the
podcast.
doors that you've been opening up for me. I
More to
love
come.
it.
More to come. More to come. That's essentially the idea, and so yeah, we stay in touch. And anyone who watched this, thank you, and share. I'm sure you were gonna do a repost of some snippets, so
Yes.
people should share. They should share and become ambassador of blog and Tourifique.
Yes. We're going to make it happen. I appreciate you so much. Before you go, why should people travel more often?
Because look at me. If I didn't travel, I would not be even speaking in English. I would not have had the network I have. I would not be communicating with you. And wow, I mean, I see people going to Japan now. I've been going to Japan 20 years ago, right? I was actually one of the very few African who kind of got there early from Rwanda. Travel, just even just not just like international travel, like locally as well. I go explore a
Absolutely.
neighborhood. I'm always making content. It changes you for the better. It's good for health,
Absolutely.
mental health. Let's go about mental health. It's good for the mental health because you are kind of taken to this new culture, new food, new everything, and the food. Yes, I love
The
food.
food. The food.
If anything is food,
Absolutely.
so in a nutshell, it's with the Afrotourism, I say I am in the business of human connection. That's I should travel.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and to conclude, even my wife, she's from another culture, another country. I would not have met her if I didn't
That's
move myself.
real.
So there you go.
That's real. Thank you so much. I enjoyed having you, and I'm sure we're going to be on somebody's stage together soon. And enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and we will see you in TikTok, LinkedIn, and all the other things. Enjoy
Yes,
your evening, Charles.
likewise, enjoy and see you soon. Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.